You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 2.0 for Trevor Hunter with Focus Digital Marketing, the founder. He's been building the internet since 2002, and you know my partner here, Justin. Trevor, you want to give us a little quick background about yourself and introduction?
I've been building websites since 2002, back in the days when we were using MapQuest. Y'all probably don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah,
Do
no
you?
MapQuest.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, in the previous version, I gave the rundown of kind of how I fell into this industry, but I'll make it a briefer than I did last time. Basically, we had a really crappy product back in 2002, and I needed a website. No, sorry, more like 2001-ish. Paid a company to build us a website, $6,000. Me and a partner. They ran off with our money. Due diligence is important. If you do it, you won't get screwed like I did. And I had to build a website. I didn't have another $6,000. We were broke, and I built a website. The product didn't sell, so we never made any money off that. But as it turned out, people needed websites, and I got fairly good at it. And over the last decade or 2.5, makes me feel old to say that, I've gotten fairly okay at it.
I know it's crazy to think how long we've been doing everything that we've all been doing. But I'm curious, what did you do before you founded Focus Digital?
Uh, well, okay, it's a rabbit hole. So, okay, you remember the hydrogen energy that people put on cars,
Yeah.
like the fuel cells? Okay, so that piqued my interest fairly early age, and it didn't work. Um, but I did see some things that made it interesting. And basically, if you use the hydrogen output as a catalyst to burn the unburnt fuel that the car kind of wastes, there was potential for fuel savings there. So we built a really efficient cell. There was a metric back then that was theoretically impossible, and through a company that nano coated some plates for us and stuff like that, we actually exceeded that threshold of what was theoretically possible. The problem is the system was like $4,000, and this was like in 2000, so that was a chunk of money. And it also included engine ECU and stuff like that, and it didn't really work that great on even new cars at that time because they didn't waste fuel like the older cars did. So our market was infinitely small. Basically, you had to have very inefficient cars that, anyways, it was a terrible idea. Like, it was a cool thing, it was a cool bit of kit, but it just was too expensive.
You have been working on converting car conversion?
No, it still ran on fuel gas, but it increased the fuel mileage. So on a car, it would get like, I don't know, 20% better fuel mileage, which mattered, But if the price was $600, then it matters and it makes sense. But at multi-$1,000 installations, it didn't make sense.
Yeah. It's like a early version of a hybrid. That's what it sounds like. I mean, way different, but
now there is a funny story about how shit can go just bonkers. It did work really well on diesel. So we had a deal. I met a contact up in New York, and he said you should put this on the buses and the garbage trucks. And I said I would love to. So we flew up there, had a meeting with NYPA, which is New York Power Authority, who controls the buses and the garbage trucks. I don't know why that is, but they do. And we did a test run on, I think, 30 buses and garbage trucks, some combination of. I wasn't involved in the installation. Their technicians did the installation. But for like a year, I had to fly back and forth to New York and get data and pull data from stuff, and everything was good to go. And it was December the 11th, and it was 10 days before my birthday. That's why I know the date.
I was going to say, you got good memory.
Yeah, no, I knew it was 10 days before my birthday. And we flew up there, and everything was done. It was a $60 million deal. We were going to outfit every single garbage truck, every single bus in New York City. And we were already toying with the New York City cabs. And the guy who was over the New York Power Authority, Reno Travolto, I think was his name, had a heart attack 3 days later. And he survived, but when he came to first of the year, he retired. And the guy that took his place hated him and wanted no part of any project that he was part of. So suddenly, something that was literally days away from a signature to a $60 million deal just vanished.
That's painful.
That is painful.
That's painful.
Usually would have been good for our the scary stories conversation. Scary startup stories.
Yeah, we hosted an event earlier or late last year where it was scary startup stories, and that one right there would have been better than most. We had some good ones. I think the best one that happened was a Chat GPT. The guy's like, I just typed it in and he read it. It was actually like, it was good. He did a good job reading it and telling the story. But I know we'd already done this podcast before, so thanks for more of your time because
oh no, I enjoy it.
My fault. And I know I actually found out yesterday, Preston, that Trevor and Leo have some podcasts of their own that they were doing.
Nice.
What's the name of that podcast, Trevor?
The Action Item Podcast. But it's well over a year old. We stopped doing them, just scheduling and so forth. He was put out of his house because of the Palisades fire last year, and was out for like quite a while. And then when his house survived, but they basically evacuated everybody, and I think it was toward the end of the year. My schedule got bonkers. His schedule got bonkers as well. So we just never did refire it off. We were getting some good traction, or decent traction, not great. But we did, I don't know, 6 or 8 episodes. But the problem with these, or the hard part, which you guys are probably realizing, is it's hard to talk about something new every week for like an hour and have new ideas that are different and unique and keep people interested.
Well, yeah, and I think it's easier in this format because we get to like introduce somebody else. I did a pod like one podcast without Preston, and the dynamic for me, I'm like, oh shit, this feels weird. Because like usually, you have a minute to pause and like we can bounce off each other. But I was talking to Leo earlier and gave him shit and said, dude, you guys got to bring that back. Because like one thing you brought up when we talked yesterday and you were telling me about the podcast, I think and I could get this wrong, but you were like, we did 3 things like entrepreneurs need to know, like some of the topics that you brought up, I thought I'm like, God, that sounds interesting. And it sounds like it'd be fun content.
It was, and it got good views until we talked about books. We would do like a video on like 10 brutal truths about businesses, and that would get 6,000 views. And we did like 5 books that are must read, and it got 8, like single digit 8 views.
Dang.
That's hilarious. What was that first one you said? The 10, what was it? 10
brutal truths about businesses.
What is one brutal truth about business? Do you remember? Something that you guys...
yeah, they're mine. Basically, you're going to get screwed a lot. Due diligence is your best... That's what I tell everybody. That's one of the things. Due diligence. Everybody wants to get on the internet and find somebody... And, sorry, my coffee's bubbling over there. Everybody wants to get on the internet and find a company to do a thing for them, and they talk to the salesperson, and the salesperson convinces them that they're going to, unleash the magic box, and everything's going to be great, and it's going to be amazing, and they never think to go, hey, do you mind sharing 2 or 3 of the people that you work with's information so I can call them and get, firsthand feedback? And like if I called you right now and said, Justin, I got a new client that's interested. Do you mind if I give your information and you just tell him candidly how you feel about working with me? Would you say yes or no?
You already know it. We would definitely say yes.
Exactly. If you do good work for people, there's no logical reason that you can't come up with 2 or 3 people that can vouch for you. And
Yeah.
if you're somebody that's committing to a service that's multi-$1,000s and you're not asking for that, it's rather foolish in my opinion.
I would agree. I think
Yeah.
we talked about it in the first episode about, we kind of like moved forward, and Preston's gut instinct right towards the end was like, hey, this doesn't feel right. And then we met you through a referral through Leo, right? Where we were like, and that was enough for us. And then after the first phone call, and then shit, a week and a half later, we had a website. I mean,
Yeah.
it was freaking fast.
Quicker
Even
than
if
they
that,
others provided demos.
yeah. And now when you Google Sonic CX, Sonic, the fast food drive-through restaurant, does not pop up first anymore. At least Trevor did it. I did it yesterday to check, because when we first had launched our website, like, I think you've done some great things with
Yeah,
SEO. We've
for
got
sure.
visibility now. We're not being replaced by Sonic
When you
drive-through.
search for Sonic before I got involved, the restaurant would pop up,
Yep.
even when
Yep.
you spelled it the way that you spell it.
Yep.
No
Yeah,
shit.
you-
Okay.
I would search, I'd go Sonic CX, enter, and it would give me the locations for the Sonic drive-through restaurants. And I'm like, well, that's insane. And we spelt it exactly the way it's spelt in the domain. And I think it just matters, right? Like, even something that small, because you got to imagine, even with some of the noise we made, somebody would go Google themselves, and if they got that shit, like, it was frustrating. But, and you get into that because you bring up a valid point, right? Like recommendations. And I think, now as Sonic CX, as we grow, we have the ability to do that. But in starting a company, right? Like, that's a tough challenge. So what advice would you give to somebody new without, like, is it, hey, talk to people I've worked with before? Like, throw a curveball at you, but what if you're a brand new startup and you haven't had a chance to prove yourself yet?
You're saying if you're in my shoes as a brand new guy, and you're trying to, you
Anybody's
don't
shoes.
have. Okay,
without
okay.
without the
It's-
relationships.
It's exactly what I did, and I've said this before. You have to do shit for like no cost, free, cheap, whatever, to build that referral base. We live in a state of social media where everybody thinks their first client's going to be a $15,000 client, and they're holding out for that. Finally, after 6 months or whatever, they hang up the towel and they go, "Well, that didn't work. I can't. That business model doesn't work for me." No, you just didn't approach it the right way. When I started, I had that other business that was terrible. And then I had a couple friends that were like, "Can you build me a website?" And I did it like a couple $100s for a website. And then I don't know, after a little bit of time, I was making some money with websites. Not good money by any means, but I was making money, and the other thing was floundering. So I went and knocked on doors, walked into businesses, and said, "Hey, I'll build you a website for free, just to show you what I can do." And I built, I don't know, 7 or 8 websites probably, and I did the best I could back then. And they were not good websites, but they were good in comparison to what else was available. Like, there was actually a guy in town, something like Norm Did It or something like that, and his websites were horrendously bad. They were like GeoCities or something. You may not know what that is, but they were still decent, because I've always took pride in what I do, and even though I was very, very green, I was still living, breathing, learning how to build better websites. So that's why, like, we were the first ones in the U.S. to do responsive design. It wasn't my idea. There was a British podcast that I stumbled upon where they were talking about using percentages in the code instead of using fixed dimensions, which made the website responsive. If you have a screen that's yay wide, sorry, I'm in frame, this wide, and you set the top image to be 95%, it doesn't matter what that screen does. If it's a phone or a tablet or a computer, it's 95% of that width. Whereas if you said make this image 1280 pixels, it's 1280 pixels, and then it doesn't scale properly to a phone and so forth. So That was actually, we won some awards for that back in like 04, 05 because we were like the first ones. Even though we were not the first ones, we were just the first ones in this country to do it. So to get started, we did shit for free, and then built up a little bit of a referral network, and people were happy with what we did, and that's what it was. And basically, the entire course of this company, referrals have been what we lived on. I have spent a lot of money trying to do other things, ads and so forth to generate business, but nothing beats referrals.
100%.
Yeah, I like how you put it on your page. I was doing websites full time for peanuts.
Literally.
But it makes sense.
You got to do what you got to do. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, it makes sense. Makes sense. Like for us, I think our start, really we've been fortunate in so many ways as well. But relationships are everything. I think a lot of people tend to undervalue like relationships, like when you have the opportunity to meet a guy like yourself, right? And we're going to release this next week on Wednesday, where we'll already have the announcement, right? But like it created, between that relationship starting out as website building as kind of, I mean, obviously we have Bella, which you're the creative behind Bella, which is our AI voice agent, and then the launch of USBPO Alliance, which is, you built that site out, and it's the ability to kind of bring good recommendations to a world where that, frankly doesn't like to share knowledge. In our industry, knowledge is like hoarded like a mother. I don't like,
in most, it seems that way.
yeah, it's insane. And that relationship grew into this relationship, and who the heck knows what the next 6 to 12 months will bring. But we started with the website, we've ended with a voice agent, and now the launch of the Alliance, which that website looks awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
We couldn't be more excited. So Monday, we'll get that announcement out, and then we'll release this on Wednesday. But when you look at it, because I actually did pull up a few questions that I thought would be relevant, given your expertise in web design, and one of them is most founders struggle to clearly articulate what they do. Where do you usually get them, or where do you see them get stuck when it comes to defining their message, particularly on websites?
Particularly on websites. I thought you were going to go more broad than that.
We can go broader. I whatever you go with it wherever you want.
So I have a thing, and I don't know how to share it with you right now, but so there was it's the elevator pitch, and the problem with most people is they talk about what they do. Most people don't really give a shit what you do. They want to know how it affects them. They want the results. So I've got a document that like you fill in. Does this have a screen share option?
It does. I know I have it. I don't know if, do you have it? It should be right at the bottom next to the leave button.
Can we pause this? Not pause this, but just you can cut this bit out while I look for this, because this is actually quite interesting, and I think it would be useful for a lot of businesses. And I do have it fairly handy.
Yeah, as I said, it's usually like with any kind of gaps, it'll just condense them anyway. But yeah, because I know when we talked, as you looked that up, what was that? You said you had how many seconds to
51.
51 seconds to drive engagement.
Yeah.
And I think you helped us with some of our messaging. I think like when we first sent you our site, you were pretty candid, and you're like, yo, like, what does this mean? Like you lost me. Like it sounds pretty. It sounds a little generic, right? But then you got into you have 51 seconds. All right.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so it's essentially a worksheet. You describe your typical customer, and like just literally physically print this out, write it down, whatever. And do you want this to change? If you want this to change, the arrow takes you down here, and then it describes your ideal customer and what has to change about your business. So this would be something like we have to increase our offering value, our value prop has to be better, or whatever the deal is, whatever. And then the hurdles. What is stopping you from making those changes today? We have existing client base that wouldn't, accept these changes, whatever the thing may be, right? And then if you go down this path, you return to the problem. And the problem is the problem you solve. What problem do you solve for somebody? For you guys, you offer a customer service, essentially a customer service, right?
Kinda, yeah. Well, yes, we do.
Service sales, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, you facilitate a place where people have spend a lot of money to open up to go internal and have customer service agents that they have to pay insurance and taxes on, and a facility to house them in, and all the tech stack and all the things that go into it. And or they can call you guys up and go, hey, can you make this happen for me? And in 3 weeks they have or whatever your timeline is, they have a full tilt service, and they didn't have to buy a building, they didn't have to hire a hired manager, they didn't have to do anything. So that's the problem you guys solve, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, right? Because I was even reading this where it's you are blank who helps blank with blank getting them more, better, additional blank, right? I'm sitting there answering that in my head right now, and it's essentially, I think it's actually a really good exercise. What a simple little square there, but how deep you could dive, And I would say we are a BPO who helps organizations with. I see we could try, but we're a BPO that helps customer service and sales with better improving lifetime value and driving revenue inside those channels. But see, I'm trying to make it up here midstream
it's
of
quite
the
hard,
podcast.
ain't it?
Yeah, but
getting them better operational efficiency or
better outcomes,
additional revenue and out. Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you sit here, right? We put ourselves on the spot, but that's I think you just showed, right? Like we've got our website, and I think like being on the spot, but how, right? Like we struggle to clearly articulate what we do in real time here. I like with the hats that Preston and I wear, revenue lives here, and it's really trying to drive that message, but we even need to get cleaner ourselves on kind of that philosophy. What a great sheet, dude. I think anybody that sees this should screenshot that. And
I mean, we can dump internally. I'll share it. I don't gatekeep. I mean, you've seen that. You see the stuff I share on LinkedIn. I firmly believe that there's enough business for everybody. I mean, I don't care if anybody tries to compete with me. I think I do a good enough job to stand on my own. So I share whatever the hell I think that can help people out,
Yeah, and if somebody likes what you do or wants to elaborate on it and build on it, I think I was actually thinking about that and maybe how we can implement it into, let's just say, some of our marketing. But for sure, you built out a lot of different applications. And I read a post that you had that was who was it by Alex? But it talked about, wanting to do something different, having an idea and wanting to do it. It could be, you could spend, hundreds of hours developing, testing, and it could flop, or it could be a great success. Yep, have you done a few that have been a major flop?
Oh yeah. I mean, InSource, the latest. I mean, we built out, and we're not even talking about how much money was spent on that. I mean, deep six figures, and into a system that was what?
I said that number made my gut hurt.
Yeah. Oh, it was, and it's still a good thing. It's still there. It's right. Something, and I've never told you about this. You guys may go like what I was talking about, the AI voice and stuff, and you're perked up. But it's essentially a CRM, AI management, voice AI agent, text, basically everything, inventory management. If you think about rolling everything from the the customer facing, or sorry, the inventory customer facing side of the business. Like, if the shipment, for example, gets hung up in certain production at a certain production level, and it automatically sends a text message out to the customer and says, "Hey, this is going to be delayed." Blah blah blah. No human ever had to get involved with that. If somebody from Facebook wants to message the company, then the AI responds to that person, and it's the same as Bella. It's got the footprints of Bella. Bella came from this, or Bella was a piece of this.
Integrated into.
Exactly. And, it was a great idea. The problem was the tech stack, the technology. When I called to get AWS, because that's the only option to run it, it was going to be like $600,000 a month, and I was like, "That's a lot of money," but I think the potential's there. We were like mid 2027 of even getting a deployment. I mean, before we could even do it, and there was no way I could afford to pay even the startup cost with, at this time, it was almost 2 years out, um, to launch something. We do okay, but we don't do it like that,
Yeah.
So, we've had a ton of time in, and I did not do my due diligence. Something I preach a lot of. And I just made the assumption that the moment I call AWS and go, "Hey, we need us a couple server racks," they'd be like, "Okay, next week." I had no idea. They would be like, "Yep, you can have them 2 years from now."
Crazy. 2
That
years.
sounds like a good product. Integrated all into one CRM, agent voice, is at telephone systems as well.
Yeah, it was basically, the graphic was like an octopus, and it had every leg of all the communication that goes into all the outbound, all the inbound, inventory control, everything, CRM.
I'd like to take a look at that sometime
Yeah.
in more
Sounds
detail.
It's great. It would be a thing, but it can't exist because it has to run on something like AWS.
So even with the way AI has continued to shape, there's nothing else that's become available outside of the AWS and how you would spend money there to
Hold on,
utilize
things
that
were breaking
platform.
up there for a minute. Sorry.
I said even with how AI, and technology continues to develop, there's nothing else out there that you can utilize. I mean, coming from a non-tech savvy,
Well,
brain
no,
here.
the AI has to live somewhere. That's the
Right.
problem. So you either build your own data center or you host your data somewhere else. And with all the big companies out here striving for space, AWS is taking care of Facebook. AWS is taking care of Oracle and all the big companies. Focus is not a big company. They don't give a shit about us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know,
The we're the small guys, even though I mean you do relatively by any standard very successful, but like with the AWSs of the world, it's like, hey, if you're not enterprise, like get in line.
yeah.
Because I'm sure if Salesforce came and needed a data center, they wouldn't be waiting for
2 years.
2 years to get one. And I honestly, what I admire about you, right? And I think what like Preston and I learned, like we created a 24-hour rule. We talked about that before, but as like a founder and working with founders, right? One of the things that I've kind of firmly come to believe is it really comes down to speed as well. Like, you're constantly creating new software, you're doing some cool shit, traveling the country with your daughter, and then even teaching her to code and stuff and sharing some of those stories. But I think part of what's really admirable is your ability to execute on an idea and bring it to life. But in your experience, because like I was listening to something this morning that really just talked about speed. It was like a very short clip, and I'd already been thinking about this. The time from having an idea to executing on that idea, like, would you agree with that? Like, where's that balance in your mind, having been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades now? Like, how would you
Well,
gauge that?
I've wrote a book. I got a book on Amazon. Did I tell you that? Oh, it's called Start Ugly, Build Smart, and that's it. Everybody wants to have an idea, and they have an idea, and it's like, it's a fantastic idea, but they don't have everything quite figured out yet, and they talk themselves out of launching because this is not right. This is not right. This is not right.
Put 'em in
And
perspective.
in reality, for the most part, they don't know what right is. Like, until you put the thing out there into the world, you really don't know what the world wants it to be or what it needs it to be. So, I personally think you throw the thing out there and see how the world picks up on it, and you save a whole lot of time, because I'll cobble a concept together, throw it out there. If it's received well, I'll get feedback on what sucks, what doesn't suck, what's good, what's great, what's awesome, and then I'll adapt. And typically, if you can adapt fairly quickly, you can end up with a fairly cool product in a fairly short window of time, you know? Today, 10 years ago, you couldn't do that. You know, when you needed 16 developers to, you know, be on payroll, and everything took 6 months to build, it was a lot harder. But today, with the ability to build AI tools that can code, you know, code concepts, I mean, I could write code on a napkin, and, you know, literally, I have literally wrote code on a napkin. But I can also take the AI tools and write, you know, 10,000 lines of code and review it and look for what I'm supposed to be looking for here and finding errors and so forth. But it just shaves the time down so much. It's gotten really, really crazy. So people wait for perfection, and they should.
Amen. I agree with that. And I think, and I know like Preston, I think Preston and I kind of play off each other really well. And in the sense that Preston is a little bit more, how would you put it? Like he's a little bit more nuanced in like the details, and I'm a little bit more reckless. And I mean, I call myself reckless in the sense that like I just kind of like very impulsive, and I think together the partnership works nicely because Preston's like, hey, I hear you. Let's just map this out. Where I'm kind of like, yeah, let's go. And so I think
Good
that,
starting.
Hold
yeah,
on. Stormy's dreaming. Stormy, quit dreaming. She's
chase,
barking her
chase,
in her sleep.
chasing birds.
That's the same
But
relationship me and my partner have. I'm the reckless one, and he's the logical, and, you know, no, Trevor, we don't need to spend this much money on this thing right now. Let's just see what it looks like.
yeah, yeah. And I think we've had some, but and then we came to the conclusion because I think especially early on, and honestly, I think it is a fine balance of speed. Like, but we made some quick
Yeah.
decisions early on when we launched, where eventually Preston was like, "Look, I think we need a 24-hour rule, bro. Like, if we're gonna make a big decision, is not saying no. Let's just make sure we go to bed and wake up in the morning and make sure we feel the same way." And I think we've done a good job
Yeah.
sticking to that since. But there is like
Is that 24-hour rule to shorten the decision process or lengthen the decision
lengthen it.
process?
Lengthen, because
Okay.
sometimes we'll want that speed to be, taken advantage of to the point where we don't lose an opportunity, but we also don't want to jump into an opportunity just for the sake of getting a new partner. And, we try and go off the trust, but due diligence, at the same time. So we want to trust what potential partners are telling us as far as their, let's just say, head sales count, per day as a metric, or per month, but it be significantly lower, and we structure out our sales commission tiers for our agents based off what they said, and it's not achievable. So it's, or even based on like what you said, spending money. Like, oh, we don't need to pull that trigger now, sleep on it. If we wake up and feel the same way, chat through
Yeah,
it, make the decision. I think a couple times we're like, yeah, let's just not do it, or pull the trigger. I'm
yeah,
in.
there. It's me. I'm impulsive. Like I'm very much like, hey, if this is what I feel. And Preston, usually we come back and we're good. But Preston's like, hey, man, just sleep on it. And honestly, if you feel the same way after a night of sleep, it's usually the good thing. We also another rule we created is if we talk about something, 5, 6 times, it's time to act. Like if something's like if you're talking about something that's deemed a problem or something that you want to do and it's come up multiple times, it's time to move on that thing.
Makes sense.
But yeah, speed, and I think especially in startups, you've been around 2 decades, right? But like that's one thing that's really nice about working with you, and why if either Preston or I would give glowing recommendations to your business is you bring those things to life really quick. And when you're in a startup mode, you don't really want to wait around for a month and a half, 2 months to get your website right. You're like, hey, I want like something like that to have the quick turnaround. It was awesome. So let me see. I'm trying to, because there's some good questions in here. What's one mistake you see founders make over and over again on their home pages for their websites?
Oh, homepage. They don't tell anybody what they do. To be fair, you guys were guilty of this.
Yeah.
When you
I don't
landed
know what
on
you're
A
talking
lot of
about.
like specific terminology.
Hey, let's not make this personal, Trevor.
when you land on somebody's website, if you there's like three questions. There might be a couple more, but what do you do? How can it help me? Can I trust you? And what does it cost? Or can I afford you? That's you kind of have to answer those questions typically before the scroll. The what it costs button or the what it costs part can kind of go if you do everything else really well up there, the what it costs can go down somewhere else. And I don't mean a dollar amount, but you know, sometimes or we're looking at something and we don't know, is it a $50 thing or a $12,000 thing, and the difference of those two matter obviously. But if you don't tell what you do, how it helps, and somehow establish some trust, you have 51 seconds, according to the study that we talked about. Did we talk about that in this video?
I don't think we you brought it up. So I
You
said the
brought it up.
second. I said how many seconds? You said 51, but you didn't elaborate on it.
The context. So we did a study a couple years back for local service businesses. I think it was like 4 million website visits. The average time on site before the user did something, whether that means click the call to action button or leave the site, was 51 seconds. So you basically have 51 seconds on average of attention, and you have to convince the person who lands on your site what you do, how it helps them, can I trust them, and what can I afford them of that. And that's, I think, where most people miss it. They put about us on their homepage. You think that instills trust. It really doesn't. Nobody really gives a shit who you are. Like, we do, but we don't. It's not where our decision making comes from. We care about our business, how you can help us. And when your hero section's at the top and the second section is a big ass body of about us, you're wasting real estate. If
Oh,
you should have the about us section up here where somebody can go click and learn about who you are and what you do, where you've traveled to, and what dogs you have, and your kids and all that, your grandpa and all that stuff. But it doesn't need to be in section 2 of the website. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah. No, you put us in our place. What did it say? It said we're not just a BPO, we're the next generation BPO or something like that. And you were like, what in the hell does that mean?
Well, yeah, and we knew that needed to be worked on too. And I think the challenge to ever, and we've been working on this, we've been playing with a few things from the pricing perspective, is as a BPO, that can vary so much, right? Because we've messed with pricing calculators in various ways. So we're still trying to find something that is effective, because even in an interview that we had the other day, it was like 3 hours. That was brought up a couple times, get a pricing calculator. And it's just like, we're not all inclusive into one thing. AI, Sonic AI, that could very well be, Bella, that could very well be, but the BPO, the CX side of the business is the challenging portion.
Yeah,
So
and I don't
I
even
think
see. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think the pricing thing for you guys doesn't matter as much, just because it's such a tailored solution. And I think the expectation is that. And conveying price point is not in my opinion, is not necessarily about we do X for X dollars. Sometimes it's we do X and we're in this particular price range. Like, you know, um, it's value. You got showing value. Maybe price is not a great option, but like you guys are, uh, sorry, I'm losing the term here.
Yeah, it's performance
Revenue
based.
centric. Yeah,
Yep.
you're revenue centric. So your website does convey that you put revenue first, and that does convey value. So I think you've captured that rather well. And you had, to be fair, you had that message prior to me. That wasn't something that I had any involvement in. You hadn't conveyed it well on your website, but you had the content, you had everything. You had the great logo, you had the great brand, you had the great, all that. You just, whoever was building the site just didn't take the stuff that you had and use it.
Yeah. It was, and the dude that did our brand guide, I mean, he props to him. His name's Coleman.
Awesome.
And we had a great experience, but we couldn't move. I mean, we were able to execute and move just so much better. And then you took it. I think you did better with it. Like we went and did our own copy, and then realized after working with you, like, oh, we weren't as good as we thought. Like, I love to think of myself as a mad scientist and like, ooh, that sounds good, but in actuality, after working with you, we're like, no, that makes sense. And I think we made exactly that mistake you mentioned earlier of our header was all about us, right? Like all about us, not like who the problems we solve. Well, we didn't articulate that well, and that change got made. So another question that I've got is when you look ahead, how do you think founder-led messaging and websites will need to evolve as AI and automation become table stakes?
What is that? What's table stakes?
Like just like more just readily available to everybody. Like as AI and
Yeah,
automation is.
yeah. I think it's going to be. Um, I mean, it already is. I mean, Stormy's behind me. It already is available to everybody. It's changed the game. I mean, it's allowed. Everybody's scared of it, and I'll tell you what I think it's going to do. Ultimately, it's going to take the people who are good at what they do, and it's going to keep them right here. And the people who are shitty at what they do, and have just done something that because other people, your average person can't do it, like websites, for example. There's the websites that we build, and then there's websites that AI can build for you. And AI can build a pretty good website that looks nice. It won't do what mine does, but it also is better than 80% of the other web developers out there that are building shitty websites. So yeah, I think it's going to filter out some of the mediocre talent out there, because it actually is affordable and it's reasonable for anybody to obtain. So yeah, I think it's going to change the way the industry works in all industries. To be fair.
Yeah, and I'm one of the things that we talked about. I think on the first episode. I don't know. I think maybe after we got done recording, but it was like building custom AI. And what I see a lot of, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of, is kind of the differentiation between knowing how to use AI and just letting AI do what it does. Like you can see this on LinkedIn, for example. Like, hey, everybody, I don't care, you can say you don't, everybody uses AI to some extent to help with content creation today. But you can clearly see the people that like just say, hey, write me a post and let AI do its thing, and they copy and paste it in. And I think Chat GPT's even started to like mess with formatting, like there's spaces where they don't belong. And they're just copy and pasting and being lazy. And do you see some of that happening right now, like in your industry where people are, I think one of the big giveaways originally was M dashes, but I think
They fixed that.
they did. They did. I saw I think I saw it on X or something. He was like, "No, you can no longer." But like I think when you look at like automation and AI, right? What I think, because like I'll write a good piece of content, like, and I use voice to text. That's how like I'm finding that that's my best way to write content, and then I'll use AI to format it so it looks good. But I think, do you see any problems with the growth of AI to where is this really Justin's thought, or is this just Gemini spewing some shit out, and like, does
I
that make
think there's a
sense?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a uh, X or Y answer. I think it's it's what you're using and how you're using it. So to your point, you were talking about the people who just say spit some shit out and they copy and paste it. That versus what you or what I do. Like I have a custom built system that has basically every post I've ever made. It has what I think about things, and I can hit the record button and I can go, I'm going to create a post. It's going to be about this, and I'll talk for 3 or 4 minutes, and it will take what I just said and summarize it in my language that sounds like me. And it's AI built, but it's what I said. So instead of it taking me 45 minutes to type it out, I don't mean it. It's not because I type slow. It's because you type something and you go, no, I don't like that, and you backspace 14 times, and then you type something else. It allows you to output that content so much faster and get your ideas out there. Now, if you go to ChatGPT and go write me a post on LinkedIn to get people to engage with me, and that's the level of context that you give it, and it spits some shit out, and you paste that, that's garbage. So again, back to the old moniker for computers: garbage in, garbage out. So
Amen.
I don't think it's going to be a one or the other. And then there's the systems. Not all systems are equal. So if the system is a good system, there's a ton of shitty ass AI systems out there, and there's a ton of fantastic ones. So and I know you guys have been scrolling LinkedIn or Threads, and you see somebody post a screenshot about Google AI, what kind of radiators in a Volkswagen, Beetle, and it'll say it has a so and so radiator. It doesn't have a radiator; it's air cooled, And they post that as though this is how stupid AI is, and that's it's not a B example. It's not a good representation of all of AI. So
Yeah, and I'd make one more point, and then I feel like I've done a lot of talking on, so I'd kick it to Preston. The other, because I look at it and I think what's going to kind of happen in the founder, like we as a startup, like inherently you'd see companies spend a shit ton of money on like marketing teams in particular, and like messaging and content creation and like display. And I think what AI has actually done for first time founders and startups is we're able to start spitting out stuff just in our offices, geeking out. Like Preston and I can have an hour together. Nano Banana can make some great graphics. It can take a concept, create that. There's guys like you that have built custom, that understand how to take messaging and voice and keep that natural feel. So I think you're going to see more entrepreneurship as a result of it. But it's interesting to me because everybody's going to look like a professional. And I think what you said earlier on in this podcast is going to matter more than ever, which is referrals, references, because you could just set some shit up with absolutely no knowledge. Like I could know nothing about contact centers at all. Preston could know nothing about call centers at all. And shit, I'm the worst mechanic you'll ever meet. You don't want me fixing your car, but with AI, I could sure look like one. I could probably
and to
set
be
up
fair,
Photoshop.
If you actually used AI to help you repair the car, you'd probably get there.
I'm just saying to look like a professional online.
No, I'm saying say you woke up tomorrow and said, I really want to be a mechanic. I know how to take lug nuts off a car, but that's the extent of my knowledge. I genuinely feel like you could build you a marketing campaign with ChatGPT, get on Facebook, grind out, get you a local client, or get you a local customer who needs you to repair their Chevrolet 1500, and use ChatGPT to diagnose the problem and repair the problem, and you know nothing. Like the ability, the knowledge that we have. Stormy, quiet. The knowledge that we have, the ability to have, the knowledge that we have access to at our fingertips today has never been. We've never had anything like it.
Yeah, it's never been so complex.
Or so easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
there's
the crazy
been
part.
like YouTube University, right? Was the last. I literally rebuilt my entire engine on my F-150 with YouTube University, and thankfully,
True
but
story.
yeah, I probably would utilize, different forms now, but still rely on YouTube University, people making videos, because there's still that feel like the people that get their hands dirty. AI can give me something, but a person can give me what they know I need in order to rebuild that engine. So it's still a little bit of a like gap for me for sure. And
Well,
I used to have. That's funny you say that because I used to have a show truck, and on the back of it, I had a graphic that said YouTube alumni.
really,
yeah, Preston, when he was rebuilding it, he's like, man, I've made so many trips to the damn
oh,
the auto parts store because he'd get back. But I can vouch for it. He did rebuild it, and that truck runs freaking phenomenal. What is
oh
it, a
yeah, cruise
2001, 2003,
2005.
five?
But yeah, I mean, those F-150s are known for a couple different problems, and I got in there and I fixed all of them. Now it sounds like it's a brand new engine. Yeah,
It's a five
YouTube
four truck, right?
University for sure. Yeah, 5.4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have too much ADD to ever be a mechanic. I know where, like, if I did YouTube University, my truck would be rebuilt by the 2030.
Yeah, you
Like,
gotta have
So
time.
that's
just
typical project car
yeah,
process.
yeah,
Like
I'd be
we
on
we
it
won't.
forever.
For
He
sure.
flipped it in like a month. I want, if that. I don't
Yeah.
remember. He was in it with his brother, and they got it done relatively quickly.
Yeah, for
Was
me,
it
and
your
like,
primary vehicle?
yeah, my primary vehicle. For me,
See,
it
that's the
was like,
difference.
yeah, that's I needed to get it done faster, and like my analytical brain slowed me down. I would stop and like, hold on, I need to recheck this again to make sure it is correct. Let me watch this video again. That's why I have trouble reading books sometimes. I'm like, hold on, I get it, but let me, and then I reread sentences a couple times or paragraphs. Freaking kills me, but benefits of AI they're changing a lot of things for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
thank
engines are
you, brothers.
are an impressive thing when you think about. Again, I'm going to nerd out on the cars here for a second. Me and Liz were at my car broker's shop, and he has an engine side where he builds E-type Jag engines. And the we were taking a little tour. We used to hang out there quite often, and he was showing her the tolerances of how much matters because he had two pistons for one of his E types or two piston rods, and one was wrong, one was right, and Liz was holding both of them, and she could not see the difference, and there was literally 20 thousandths difference of the bearing surface. And he was like, well, here's what the difference is. And he pulls out a filler gauge out of his toolbox and he pulls out the 20 thousandths. And if you know what 20 thousandths is, it's like a little tiny sliver of metal. And she's like, so you had to buy these all over again because it was this wrong? And they're like $6,000 for all the conrods. It's just crazy because we walk around and she's looking at all the different tolerances and stuff. And when you think about, those on a 1962 car, the tolerances that we've been operating with in an engine for 80 years, 80 to 100 years is impressive. And then we ask them to go 300,000 miles at 6,000, 4,000, 8,000 RPMs. And when you get down into it and break it apart and realize how spectacular of a thing that is, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, but then I'll get to go back to kind of on topic. But
Yeah, sorry.
speaking somewhat of you know vehicles and technological improvements, I hate working on new vehicles. I would much rather work on an older engine. Percent. I know exactly what would need to go where, why it works. These days, I can't reprogram those computers. You know.
No, see, I think I actually enjoy the new cars. I enjoy them all, but you do have a lot of control with the new cars.
Oh,
Well, I
you're
just
a technologist, so you're
yeah.
like, give me a computer,
Yeah,
no problem.
But see, I won't know if it's the computer, if it's is it the engine. I can diagnose the standard items, but it could very well be the computer, and I may not be able to discover that unless I take it in. And taking it in, they could be like, "Oh, it's blown. You need a new car."
you need to throw it away and start over.
Yeah. But what I was going to ask in one of your posts, I was reading where you had built an app for your daughter's chores.
But yeah,
Kind
chore
of
bucks.
kind of started this thought. But just like as you travel, right, and consistently, does that help shape what you think about building and what you build? Like, do you come
Yeah.
across situations or do new people that you meet, and you're like, they could definitely use an app for that, or
Oh, and I built it. Yeah, I mean, I've there's been quite a few little isolated things where we'll meet somebody and they have a particular problem that's very isolated, and if I feel froggy one evening, I'll whip out a solution and go, here, I built this for you. Oh, so I'm super. I'll give you a good example of one that's never been shared. My daughter's 11, and I understand how the internet works. So she does not have any social media whatsoever. Um, but she meets kids that we're traveling around, right? So she meets kids that she likes to hang out with and talk with and so forth. And then we leave, we go someplace new. So I built a encrypted chat session or encrypted chat service, basically, that every time she meets somebody new, we create one brand new one. That kid can access it. She can access it. No one else can. And
that's pretty
she
cool.
has continual communication with that particular kid. There's no profiles, no pictures, no logins, no nothing. It's just she knows how to get there. That kid has a link how to get there, and nobody else knows it exists. So it's completely secure. And, that's actually been quite interesting. So it
Yeah,
was
for
just
sure.
something that the situation caused me to build a thing.
Yeah, imagine traveling. I mean, I guarantee you'd come across so many instances like the chores, like the chats. But yeah, social media, the benefits and the horrors. I swear, I'm not a outside of LinkedIn, and I still don't do as much on LinkedIn as I should. But social media, I generally stay away from Instagram, Facebook, unless I'm putting out a hire an application, posting for a job, something of that nature.
Yeah, I post on LinkedIn and I post on Threads, but I post as the business, not so much me.
Yeah, for sure. If you were,
100%.
I was curious if you're starting again today. I know we're getting closer towards the end, but if you were starting over again today, would you do the same thing? Would you do something different from an approach, perspective, obviously, or even the business that you went into? I know you love it, so
Yeah, no, I mean, I would do what I do now, no matter what. I mean, to be fair, we have enough recurring where I don't have to do what I do anymore.
yeah, that's
And I
nice.
still love what I do. Like, I'd get up and pull, I'll lay in the bed at night time and get back up and because I think of, oh yeah, Sonic site needs this right here. This would be cool if they had it on this swap website. So at 3 in the morning, I'll get up and start coding on your website. And 3 days from now, you'll realize, hey, where'd this come from? Why is well, that's a cool thing. When did this show up? And no, I love it. I don't think I would do much different. I would network more. That's one thing I would do more. I would spend more time networking locally. And I would try to leverage that local network a lot more than I did in the beginning.
Good
Yeah,
advice.
for 100%. I know I definitely should have been networking regardless of being within this startup. Should have started
And
networking years
I
and
don't
years ago.
mean I don't mean LinkedIn networking. I mean like going to local coffee shops and hanging out with people, going to business luncheons and meetings and shaking hands and not pitching them. And like I've said many times, I don't think you should pitch. I think you go in there, introduce yourself. When they say, "What do?" You tell them the elevator pitch, and at some point they're going to realize, hey, I need Trevor to do this thing, or I need Justin to do this thing, or I need Preston to handle my customer support. And then your phone will ring and go, hey, you got time to talk? And you'll be like, I do.
Yep.
I do.
Yeah, I can't even tell you like the I mean I have no doubt that we're going to be in touch 10 years from now. Like when you meet good
For
people, just
sure.
staying in touch matters too. Like a lot of numbers in myself, I forget about people. you know, and
Oh,
then like you end up reconnecting through needing something, or they advice, or maybe they do something that we remember, like, hey, so and so does XYZ. But yeah, networking. There's that. What's that saying? Your network is your net worth, and it's so damn true to an extent. But it's, to your point, it's not walking around trying to sales pitch everybody. It's just building like real relationships, genuinely being interested in the people that you meet, and then shit can happen from there. And
yeah.
if
You
it
have to like,
doesn't, you meet cool people.
yeah, you have to like
It
the
does.
people that you're working with just as much as you like the product that they have. 100%.
I mean, there's a lot of clients we don't accept, and this
Same.
may in the early days it was different. Basically, I took everybody that would give me money to do a thing because we needed to pay bills. But today, there's people we pass on, and it's because I will be working with you guys for 5 years. From now, I've worked with Leo for 5 or 6 years. The people I work with for a long time, and I don't want to work with somebody that I can't have a casual conversation with and chit chat with and get along with. If they're uptight and stuffy,
Oh yeah.
it probably is not going to work well.
Yeah, we had a couple similar experiences, but one that resonates for sure recently.
Yeah, dude, I wrote a
I
post
won't say
last
that.
night. We had a referral partner. We love referral partners, dude. And I'm not going to name names, but like literally just the attitude, like of course we want the business, we want the account, but the way the conversation went, it turned into such like entitlement, like you owe me this, like you're going to do that, and literally ended with, why don't you just go find another BPO to work with? Like
Yeah,
I,
not all money is good money.
hell no, man. Like actually, you want to share? I've got to imagine you've had to fire somebody. I know we're at time, but we could wrap up.
Well, I do it. I've done it frequently. What was the post I made?
Yeah. Sometimes it feels better to say no than it does to say yes, because you just like, man, protecting
Yeah,
yourself from.
there was a really big one that didn't end up working out, and for wasn't even the fact that we didn't like the product or the business owners. That wasn't the problem. It was just didn't fit. Let's
Ah,
say.
I see you navigating that one. I saw the wheels turning. He's like, how do I say this without saying too much? But yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. It's so true. But I think it's cool. We've had the ability, being as new as we are, we've
Yeah,
said no just as often, actually more often than we've said
more.
yes.
Yeah,
I think that's important because I don't know. Typically, it all depends on where your revenue's at. Are you surviving, and are you surviving enough to financially to continue growth? And if you are not, then maybe you're not in a position to say no. But if you're in a position where the business is going smooth, you got enough revenue to kind of keep the pace up a little bit, and you've got somebody that's going to be a pain in the ass and consume a lot of your time and energy, and uh, there's a guy. He's a I don't want to say anything offensive. I don't know what he is. He's like I think he's a monk. But it's Don DePani, or I'm probably butchering his name. But he has a video where he talks about energy vampires, and I'll send you guys both a link. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic bit of content, and you when you think about it, we have a limited amount of energy to give out, and when somebody is consuming that, we have less to give to the people that we value, or that are important. So when you have that client that's going to be just a fucking nightmare, hit the road,
But yeah,
you know.
let him go. And we've been really fortunate. But yeah, that was like a hell no, like, and it's funny because Preston's like, are you sure? We'd already had a little bit of, we'd known the person a little bit. He's like, you sure this is a good idea? I'm like, well, what do we have to lose? And sure as shit, after one phone call, it's like, yeah, yep. Yeah, we remember why it didn't work out the first time, but I don't know. I'm being vague, but damn, you got to watch out who you work with, and regardless of industry, because they will. I believe in that energy vampire.
That energy vampire. When you said that, I was like, dang, that's the way to put it. Energy vampire, 100%. And that can burn out so many things: the culture, the drive, the innovation, creativity. That can burn so many pieces of what you're trying to build.
Well,
The cost is
Trevor,
too high.
I know
Yeah.
I know we hit the hour. So and honestly, I think this actually turned out better than our first
Yeah,
run
for sure.
anyway. I think we had some good conversation and some good insights. When we get it posted, you should, I mean, that sheet's very valuable. I think that probably, that little sheet you shared would make a badass LinkedIn post.
Yeah, for absolutely.
That's
And
I haven't shared that in a long time. I probably should. And I'll send everything I mentioned here. I'll put together into a little action item list and send to you guys.
cool.
yeah, I think,
I'd like to take a look at the item you were talking about earlier too, just to maybe
what
maybe
did
we
you
do
call
something
it?
with it. Who knows?
Insource. Insource, is that what you?
I'll put together I'll send you over the pitch deck.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
But it's not a choice, not unless we have
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
Not unless you got
What is it?
600K to.
I mean, we
Well,
could
no,
try.
we actually were able to do that, but we had 2 years to wait to recoup our investment, and
Yeah.
we can't afford that.
Yeah,
It's not having the money, and I had people that would actually put up that, but it's still not for that window of time.
That's
and
a
I don't know
long parking spot
It's a
for
long
that kind of
time.
cash.
100%.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, Trevor, appreciate you doing this for the second time, man, for sure.
It's been fun.
And then this will go out Wednesday, so by the time people see it, and then we'll get the USBPL Alliance, which we're super excited about. And you are 100% the creative mind behind the site. You helped bring that site live. I think we gave you just some copy and some, and you were able to really put it visually. And so credit where credit is due on that too, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
100%.
Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
And everybody.